Good evening, Poe patrons, and welcome back to the Poe Museum. I recently asked some of our viewers if there are any Edgar Allan Poe pieces from our collection that they'd like to see profiled. And this is probably the first response. It's the Poe Family Bible. This isn't it. This is just the clamshell case that holds it. The Bible is inside. So this is it, the Poe Family Bible. And a little bit about its history. It belonged to George Poe Jr., who is Edgar Allan Poe's rich uncle, or he was Poe's father's first cousin. And because he was rich and in the Poe family, he bears the distinction of having been hit up for money by both Edgar Allan Poe and Edgar Allan Poe's father, David Poe. It was actually in early 1809 when David Poe showed up at his house drunk, saying the worst thing in the world that could have happened to me has just occurred. I don't know how I'm going to go on. I need money. I need help. And what could possibly have happened in early 1809 that Poe's father thought was the worst thing that could have possibly happened to him? Well, Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19th of that year, so it's probably little Edgar's birth that put him over the edge, and he's begging for money, and George Poe sort of turned away, so this guy's belligerent, and he's drunk, and I don't have anything to do with it. Now let's fast forward 27 years to 1836, and Edgar Allan Poe hit up his rich uncle George for money. He was living in Richmond. He was trying to start a boarding house, so he asked for a donation of $100, or at least a loan of $100 from George, so that Poe's mother-in-law could open up a boarding house and earn some extra money for the family. And it looks like George Poe actually gave them $100, and they were grateful to him. And then years later, about 9 years later, Poe was in possession of a new magazine called the Broadway Journal, and it was failing, it was struggling, and once again he wrote to George Poe asking for $200, a whole lot of money. Poe could have paid 2 years' rent with that $200, and apparently that time he didn't get the money because that magazine folded shortly thereafter. But that's a little bit about who George Poe Jr. was, and he was the first owner of this Bible, and that's his signature right in the back. What's really interesting about this book is all the handwritten genealogical notes in here. So this details some of the family history going back to the 1700s, but this you can tell is a page that was added in later. But the first entry by the first owner was from George Poe's wedding, December 29th, 1808. And then the next page you see, after that wife died, he gets married again. In addition to weddings, you also have a lot of births here. And it seems like with every other birth, you also have the death date. So here, born 1812, died 1813. Born 1813, died 1816. A lot of young children dying. And of course, then there's a separate section just for deaths. So if we're not already covered in the births, at least we'll be covered here in the death section. And you can see when and where different Poe family members died, including George Poe himself, who right here it says he died of yellow fever at 2 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. So with all these deaths in the family, you have to figure out where to put them all. And that's why they have a diagram of the Poe family burial plot at Westminster Burying Grounds at Green and Fayette Street in Baltimore. Yeah, that's where Edgar Allan Poe's buried too, but he's in a separate plot. He's not actually in a Poe family plot because 26 years after he died, they moved him to right up against the sidewalk so people could see his grave better. But this is a diagram of George Poe's family plot. Then in addition to George Poe, you also have other relatives like Nelson's son and Nelson's Clara. And Nelson, of course, is Edgar Allan Poe's enemy, the guy he called my worst enemy in the world, Nelson Poe. The guys couldn't really stand each other. So his kids are buried here in this plot. And I like right here next to Fernando, it says, and me. So at least you know we're going to end up there. So I don't know exactly how long this Poe family Bible stayed in the family. It made it to probably no later than 1860. And in the 1930s, some construction workers in Pennsylvania were tearing down a building, and they came across this Bible. They didn't have any use for it, so they gave it to a minister. And that minister's friend said, "Hey, you know who I think would like this Poe family Bible? There's an Edgar Allan Poe museum down in Virginia." So eventually they sent the Bible down here, and it's been here since the 30s. And it used to be in pretty bad shape. All these extra pages they inserted in the Bible caused the spine to split apart. So thanks to a grant from the EMC Corporation, we're able to get the book conserved, put back together, and we're able to get this nifty clamshell case to hold it. But in addition to that, we also got all the handwritten genealogical information scanned, and it's all up on our website where you can see it at poemuseum.org. So if you're interested in Poe family genealogy, just check it out on our website. And if there's any other Poe pieces you'd like us to profile in future videos, let us know down in the comments. And until next time, thanks for joining us. And here's some more of the Poe Museum cats doing Poe Museum cat stuff.